We believe that human civilization has gradually and continuously progressed, like stepping on stairs. But is that really the case? Please take a moment to look at the records we are about to show you. We learned that in 1543, Copernicus ended the Dark Middle Ages by presenting the heliocentric theory. However, as far back as 270 BC, the scholar Aristarchus of Alexandria had already mathematically proven that the Earth revolves around the Sun. The history of physics is no different. 1,700 years before James Watt improved the steam engine in 1765 and ignited the Industrial Revolution, Hero of Alexandria had already completed an engine that rotated a metal sphere using steam pressure. The calculus, which was established by Newton and Leibniz in the 17th century and became the foundation of modern mathematics, was already noted by Archimedes 1900 years earlier under the name method of exhaustion. The data from geography and biology is even more perplexing. Eratosthenes calculated the circumference of the Earth with 99% accuracy as early as 240 BC, using just a stick and the angle of its shadow. It took humanity another 1900 years to verify this figure, using modern triangulation methods. Additionally, in the 3rd century BC, Herophilus precisely classified the human nervous system and discovered that the brain is the center of the nerves. But after this knowledge was lost, humanity had to waste another 1900 years believing the incorrect notion that the heart, not the brain, is the center of thought. The only truth pointed to by this incredible parallel theory is one: human civilization has not pioneered new paths on its own. Rather, it has wasted over 1,000 years trying to solve the same problems again, after completely losing the answer key that was already available in ancient times. And the place where that vast answer key was stored is none other than the Library of Alexandria. The fire at the Library of Alexandria was not simply an incident where a pile of paper turned to ash. It was a catastrophe where the log data of human civilization was completely erased. History harshly proves the fact that once technology is broken, it takes dozens of generations of lives and time to restore it. The representative evidence of this is the concrete of Rome. The ancient Romans had already perfected a special concrete manufacturing method and were using it. This is the reason why the massive dome of the Pantheon, built in the 120s AD, still stands intact, without a single crack, even after 2,000 years. Recent research from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, in 2023 revealed that Roman concrete has self-healing capabilities. This is thanks to lime water, a technology that has only recently begun to be understood through modern engineering. However, when the method was lost, along with the library fire, humanity had to forget the very concept of cement for over 1,000 years. When the fragile walls of the 15th century collapsed, the Roman harbor structures built 1,300 years ago were actually becoming even more solid beneath the sea. The decline of medicine was even more tragic. The foundational knowledge of the nervous system and blood circulation established by Herophilus of Alexandria vanished like smoke with the flames of the library. What filled that void were unscientific beliefs such as disease is a punishment from God, or one must purge bad blood to survive. If those anatomical records had not been buried in the Dark Ages and had been passed down, humanity might have saved millions of lives with established hygiene and epidemiology, instead of helplessly dying in the face of the great disaster known as the Black Death in the Middle Ages. The disruption of knowledge does not simply mean going back to the past. It signifies the countless lives that humanity had to pay as a cost to retrieve that knowledge, which is the opportunity cost. In the flames of the Library of Alexandria, we did not merely lose books, we burned countless moments that could have saved humanity. Some people ask, can civilization really fall centuries behind just because a few geniuses disappear, or because a library burns down? However, history presents us with a very interesting law. It is the law of multiple invention. On the day in 1876, when Alexander Graham Bell filed the patent for the telephone, just 2 hours apart, A figure named Elisha Gray appeared with the same telephone blueprint. When Edison invented the light bulb in 1879, Joseph Swan in England also succeeded in the practical application of the light bulb almost simultaneously. In 1895, Italy's Marconi and Russia's Popov invented radio communication almost at the same time. The same goes for calculus. Isaac Newton in England and Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz in Germany developed the system of calculus around the same time, despite being thousands of kilometers apart and not communicating with each other. The clear fact that this astonishing coincidence proves is undeniable. Civilization is not created by a single genius, appearing suddenly, but rather by the soil of accumulated knowledge. The reason why telephones and light bulbs emerged in droves at the end of the 19th century is that humanity's knowledge of electromagnetism had already reached a critical point just before an explosion. Once the soil of knowledge is established, inventions are not the result of a single hero, but rather akin to volcanic eruptions that inevitably occur all over the world. This is exactly why we cannot give up on the Library of Alexandria. It had already secured a critical point of knowledge around the year 100 AD, where human civilization could make a significant leap. The fact that data from mathematics, astronomy, engineering, and medicine were gathered in one place and creating synergy means that it would not have been surprising if a massive volcano of the Industrial Revolution erupted at any time, according to the law of multiple inventions. However, the flames in the library instantly cooled the temperature of knowledge that had risen to that critical point. Humanity had to sow seeds again in the barren land to bloom. The flower of invention, waiting for over 1,000 years for the nutrients of knowledge to accumulate. Carl Sagan mentioned the lost wisdom of Alexandria in his book Cosmos, stating that if the spirit of scientific inquiry that began in ancient Ionia and the vast records of Alexandria had not been destroyed and had been fully preserved, humanity would have been traveling through interstellar space by now. When we apply the previously examined critical point of knowledge and law of multiple inventions, we are confronted with an extremely realistic and chilling timeline. The Industrial Revolution, which began in the year 100, and if we had followed its acceleration, humanity's first moon landing should have occurred around the year 969, not in 1969 as a historical event. If the time of science had not stopped, humanity would have already found solutions to global warming and the climate crisis 500 years ago, and modern biotechnology might have pushed human lifespan to its biological limits, conquering aging as a disease, the limitations of energy we are facing now, and the incurable diseases that continue to cause suffering. All of these deficiencies may actually be the price we pay for the future we burned away ourselves on that night 1,600 years ago. The reason we are revisiting these ancient traces today is not simply to long for the past. It is to confirm the truth of how the disruption of knowledge is constraining our generation's lives with terrifying consequences, and to ensure that we never extinguish the flame of knowledge again. We must write a history now, that future descendants, 1,000 years from now, can look back at us and say, "Thank goodness that knowledge was not lost back then."